Tonight, parts of the region battered by fierce storms and more wild weather is on the way, and the program getting Indigenous pastoral workers into full-time employment.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Heavy rain in Port Lincoln has triggered a landslide, washing out multiple businesses as the thunderstorm wreaked havoc. The lower EP recorded 53 millimetres of rain, while Port Pirie copped 13 mils, with storms resulting in dozens of power blackouts. Jason Kemp has more.
The clean-up for residents and businesses began this morning as Port Lincoln recorded its heaviest rainfall overnight in 2 years. The rain so severe it caused a landslide on the main highway into town. A huge amount of dirt piling onto the road, stopping traffic in both directions, while the council spent the morning cleaning it up. The wild weather caused by a low front sweeping past the lower EP.
We had a very moist, unstable air mass overnight over Eyre Peninsula, and there was a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity.
Port Lincoln was hit hardest. Local businesses swamped by water, shop fronts no match for the overnight barrage. Woolworths on Liverpool Street copped the brunt of it, forced to use sandbags to prevent further leaks.
The highest rainfall recorded over Eyre Peninsula was at Port Lincoln, which had 53 millimetres.
Coffin Bay also got soaked, recording 46 millimetres, while Tumby Bay had 45, Cummins recorded 39. But it wasn't just the EP. Those living in Port Pirie also got drenched. The rain causing a blackout in the local shopping centre, forcing shoppers at Coles and Kmart into the dark. The downpour didn't dampen everyone's spirits, a Port Lincoln cat enjoying the wet November weather. And there still could be more on the way. The Weather Bureau is forecasting more rain in the next 24 hours, with a storm front due to hit Port Pirie and Port Augusta.
New legislation is set to shake up water compliance and enforcement in New South Wales. The bill establishes a resources regulator, which politicians say will improve water management across the state. Patrick Reinke explains.
This week marked a significant milestone in the reform of water management in New South Wales. Yesterday saw the passing of the Natural Resources Access Regulator Bill. The new legislation establishes an independent regulator to oversee water compliance and enforcement across the state. The bill was the state government's response to recommendations from the Ken Matthews interim report into water theft allegations, which were revealed in July. New South Wales Regional Water Minister Niall Blair was unavailable for comment today, but said in a statement to the media the government is wasting no time addressing every recommendation. He also said many more of Mr Matthews' recommendations have been responded to. The new Crown Lands and Water Division has been created within the Department of Industry, and the Secretary has taken steps to ensure personnel make the new regulator a success. Early next year, the state government will consult with the public to implement other changes. That'll include a best practice water measurement framework, focusing on high-risk areas and large water users.
Police in Port Lincoln are urging firearms owners to check their weapons to ensure they're secured and accounted for. It comes after an incident on Sunday where multiple shots were fired into a house near Flinders Highway. Witnesses reported seeing a man described in his 20s wearing a light-sleeved shirt and shorts run across Flinders Park after the shooting. Police are appealing for anyone with information to come forward. Local reservoirs could soon become major activity hubs if the Liberal Party is elected to government at next year's state election. The party says its policy would see a business and tourism boom in the region.
Unlocking reservoirs across the region. The Liberal Party is now promising to open up the Bundalia, Baruta and Todd reservoirs for recreation activities if it wins the next state election.
What we'd like to see is more activities and opportunities. Obviously in the tourism industry it has a lot of opportunities, but also we see this as an opportunity to create some jobs.
We're bringing in tourism dollars, employment, and the flow-on socio-economic benefits to the community will be enormous.
The Liberals' new policy is hoping to encourage people to explore the natural wonders of the region.
Swimming, fishing, hiking, bike riding, possibly even horse riding.
Local tourism operators are excited about the opportunities it could open.
The Beddeley Valley Reservoir is the one that we want to see opened up, and it's the one that we believe has the most potential for the region.
With other states across the nation currently allowing recreation around reservoirs, Liberal candidate Kendall Jackson says South Australia is falling behind. But the state government says reservoirs haven't been open to the public due to safety concerns, with the areas requiring significant safety clearances prior to public swimming to ensure fallen branches and trees in these waterways don't pose a significant threat to life, especially with children swimming in the water.
Our state government hasn't opened up our reservoirs for these type of activities to take place, and we think it's an opportunity that's been missed.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The world's largest lithium-ion battery based in the mid-north is on track to be turned on by the end of next week. The Tesla power packs have now been fully installed on the Jamestown site, with testing set to begin within the coming days. Premier Jay Weatherall will join representatives from Neonen, Tesla and Consolidated Power Projects to officially launch the big battery next Friday. We'll stay with us after the break, the program helping to get Indigenous pastoral workers into full-time employment. That's next. Students from Samaritan College are rebuilding homes while building their own trade skills through the Doorways to Construction program. It's become such a hit with students, the school wants it to become a permanent fixture.
Hard at work, these students from Samaritan College are learning the tricks of the trade. They're helping in the renovation of this double housing trust unit just off Lacey Street.
So they're not just getting skills in pergolas or paving or woodwork, they do everything from plumbing to tiling to the gardening to concreting.
It's part of a $3 million stimulus package announced earlier this year to bring life back to a number of derelict units.
They are getting real hands-on experience, and some of these kids will go on to do trades in the future.
Local businesses have also supported the project by providing discounted goods, while the main company is purposely working slow to help the learning process. But funding is only being provided for this year's programme.
What I want to see is this program go on beyond the stimulus package.
The opportunities for these boys and girls once they leave school, if they choose to pursue a career in construction industry, is outstanding.
And it's certainly got the thumbs up from students.
Coming out here and showing people what I can do, I think is really good for every girl around the world.
The experience, like working with my classmates, the pupils, learning different trades, and just everything overall.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A program helping Indigenous pastoral workers into employment has been hailed as a game changer for the local community. Now the project is set to play a vital role in the development of one of the region's biggest energy projects.
2 years ago, Emeroo Station was empty land.
And so I've been laying around with no sheep. Everything had deteriorated, the fencing, water points, there were no water points, etc.
Now it's a hub for the Northwest Indigenous Pastoral Project, helping Aboriginal people into full-time work.
It's really good for our young people, so mainly for employment, and that's what we're looking at, and trying to bring these programs.
People being able to get more training, they've been able to bring just about 276,000 hectares of unproductive pastoral land back into a more of a productive situation. So it's a win-win situation.
It's thanks to a $2.9 million state government cash injection over the past 2 years.
And luckily, Minister Brock, through the Northwest Indigenous Pastoral Project, came up with a scheme that would bring back properties back into production, and at the same time employ Indigenous people on the properties.
Across the state, the program has brought 67 Aboriginal young people into employment. And in a recent coup, Emeroo Station workers secured a fencing contract for the Bungala solar PV farm in construction across the road.
It's really terrific to see a project like that, and from the grant money for these people to actually get enough skills in what they're doing to actually tender for stuff.
It's really hard for us to go forward, so we need support from the government.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Well, the countdown is on, with just 2 sleeps left until Father Christmas visits Whyalla for the city's annual Christmas pageant. Organisers had a final walkthrough of the event today. This year's starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with 60 floats to parade down the city plaza. Some special guests will join in on the fun. GFG owner Sanjeev Gupta.
Kids are going to dress up and be on one of the council floats. So yeah, he and his family are really keen to be part of the community.
Close to about 60 vehicles and walking people in the parade, so this year's event's turning into a big show.
Students from St Joseph's have donated their time in Port Lincoln this morning to decorate Christmas trees and engage with the elderly. It's all part of a Uniting Communities initiative helping those who may not have families or are isolated during the festive season.
Today is about addressing the social isolation on the West Coast, and we've put together an initiative and invited, there's about 13 people here and they've come along, and we've put on a big Christmas event so they can all get together and celebrate Christmas together as a group. Organisers are now looking to make it an annual event. Well, after the break, could we see a return of the Mad Max film to the Broken Hill region? We'll find out next. Well, if you're a Mad Max fan, you may have to wait a little while for a sequel to the blockbuster film that would see production back in the Broken Hill region. Director George Miller is currently in a legal battle with film studio Warner Brothers over budget complications. Patrick Reinke has more.
It was undoubtedly one of the most pulse-pounding action films in recent years. In 2015, Mad Max Fury Road roared into cinemas, raking in $492 million at the worldwide box office.
There was actually an interest in visitors to the museum leading up to the film, and certainly after the film as well. I think it regenerated the interest quite a bit with people around the world, really.
Broken Hill has a strong connection to the blockbuster. Filming for the action hit was set to take place in the far west, but unexpected rainfall saw the landscape become more lush and green, and saw film crews pack up and head to the African desert.
It was just absolutely unreal to see all the vehicles, meet all the crew members, but unfortunately because of the weather they had to take the production of course to Africa.
Unavoidable costs like this caused the movie to go over budget. George Miller's production company was set to receive a $9.1 million bonus if Fury Road came in under its $157 million US budget, which Miller says it does. But Warner Brothers is not paying up, arguing their calculations has the film over budget.
I really hope it doesn't affect any future production of another Mad Max movie, certainly in this region anyway.
Back in September last year, both Miller and Warner Brothers said they would welcome a sequel to Fury Road to be filmed in the region. But now it seems Mad Max diehards will have to wait a little longer for it.
Fingers crossed we'll get some confirmation that the next sequel will be done here.
In Silverton, Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Well, Australia's largest travelling circus has arrived in Port Augusta, with performances set to entertain residents for the next 4 days. And Southern Cross News was given a behind-the-scenes preview of some of the heart-stopping acts.
Death-defying stunts and animal acts to wow a crowd. The show-stopping event kicks off under the big top tonight.
Yes, we're here! Port Augusta! Hooray!
That includes second-generation performer Diego, and with his trapeze skills, you can see why.
I was born in the circus. My parents, grew up in the circus.
It's different for Lara, the show's contortionist, who fell into the circus after pursuing an elite gymnastics career.
I like a lot of handstand work, so a lot of handstands with splits and overarches and just pretty things with my legs that the audience look at. Something very simple, but it's just very elegant. They go, wow, it's quite impressive.
And the ringmaster says when it comes to setting up the big top ahead of tonight's show, it's been all hands on deck.
We've got a whole crew, a whole team of people that do that, including the performers. So they're not only just in the show, but they also set up the tent as well.
14 performers alongside 14 animals will perform here in the ring, much to the delight of Port Augusta audiences. My friend the water buffalo here is part of Australia's largest performing animal act. And don't forget Jose the macaw.
He will, maybe he'd like to say hello and wave to everybody. Hi to everyone at home.
The circus will be in town until Sunday. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
As the weekend approaches, it's time to see what's biting around the Gulf. Here's Fish and Tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips. I'm so excited at the moment. Blue swimmer crabs are running amok at the moment. They are in the deeper portions of the water, so you really do have to get long ropes and get out there, but you will get yourself a good feed. Yellowfin whiting, they're pretty much from Port Davis right through to Barrows Beach. Any time in the afternoon, but don't forget they are the last fish that leave the beach, so you'll have to wait sometimes for them to run out and then they'll come on pretty well. Tip is put a little burley pot with a float on it so you know where to cast, so you'll keep the fish contained when they do find you. Also, there's plenty of salmon around the place, and look out for garfish. Anything that's top feeding at the moment will be doing well.
G'day, and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, 37 degrees 1 minute, 20 degrees the next, so some real temperature fluctuations. This big rain though, what that means, silver whiting up in the shallows, along the shacks, along the beaches there, on the big high tides in the morning, they'll generally come on the bite, and you might also jag a nice big flathead as well. Crabs are starting to come on in better numbers, bigger specimens as well, but they're nice and full of meat. Some snook around the middle banks, and also the kingfish are really on the bite up around the railway bridge.
Hi, whalers fishing tips this week. For the boaties, there's been a few King George whiting scattered throughout Whyalla. They've been catching in both north and south. Also down towards south, there's still some good numbers of squid. You've got to get in the right depth of water, but work the weed line and I'm sure you'll pick up some good ones. The crabs are still starting to move in. If you get out in the deeper water, that's where they've seemed to be the best. For the land-based anglers out towards Point Lowly, there's been some really nice tommies coming from the bays there. Again, still big schools of salmon busting up along the shoreline, and there's been a few rat-sized kingfish coming from the Point Lowly marina.
G'day, welcome to this week's fishing tips in Port Lincoln. Well, the weather has started to warm up plenty and the snook have been in the bay big time. Late afternoon and into the evening's been your best bet. There's also been some tommies and some garfish around too. Offshore, the action's been heating up a bit. There's been plenty of guys out there chasing the nanagai and blue morwong. They've also been stumbling across the odd school of tuna around here and there. Over to Coffin Bay, there's been plenty of undersized whiting and guys having to catch plenty of fish to get their bag limit. There's also been some gummy sharks out there at Farm Beach, as well as a few salmon on the south coast beaches. Alright, that's about it for this week down in Port Lincoln. We'll see you again next week.
Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the local weather details with Abby Donaldson. And Abby, after some wild weather, there is some relief on the way.
Yes, Fraser, the weather is turning it on for your weekend plans. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Taking a look at the weather now. It was a stormy and rainy day around all centres today. Thunder and 25 the top of Port Augusta and Whyalla. Showers for Broken Hill reaching a warm max of 33 degrees and storms as well for Port Pirie. To the satellite now, and the reason behind these showers and storms is because of cloud cover and a low pressure trough over central and eastern parts of South Australia. Taking a look at the Gulf waters for tomorrow, south-southwesterly winds up to 20 knots. Seas will remain the same at a metre with a south-southwesterly swell. Sunrise is just before 6:05 and sunsets at 8:08. Conditions will vary around all centres for tomorrow. It will be fine for Port Augusta, Whyalla, Port Lincoln and Corn with temps around the mid-20s, but that wet weather will remain for Coffin Bay, Woodner, Broken Hill, Clare and Kadina. But it's expected to be a sunny end to the working week for Port Pirie and Cleve. To the weekend and beyond, well, with summer just around the corner, it's looking like a gorgeous few days for all centres. Fine and sunny conditions with temps in the mid-20s. 23 most days for Port Lincoln before warming up to 25 degrees on Monday. A similar story for Cleve, and warmer in Woodner with the mercury rising to 31 degrees to start the working week. A similar story further up the Gulf with sunshine for the weekend. A top of 25 for most days in Whyalla before it warms up slightly on Monday. Temps around the high 20s for Port Augusta before a 31 degree day on Monday. And fine weather for Kadina. And finally, great weather for Port Pirie for the weekend with temps hovering around the mid to high 20s before reaching 30 degrees on Monday. After some rain tomorrow in Clare, it should clear up to a mostly sunny few days. And rain should clear for a hot weekend in Broken Hill with temps around the 30s. Well, Fraser, it certainly seems like summer's come a week early.
It's almost there. Thanks, Abby. And that's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for your company. Good night.